Hello, good morning. So, we shall start and we will make Bengal a British colony. So, we are talking about the Siraj ud Daula, and then the last thing that we have talked, it was black hole tragedy. So, black hole tragedy, it had definitely created an atmosphere and sympathy was running very high in favor of East India Company. Because Sirajuddaulah was personally held responsible for this tragedy, that's called black hole tragedy. So Sirajuddaulah, he was personally held responsible for that. But I told you that this was a story. Because this story was not supported by any other evidence. We have seen that there was a contemporary poet in Bengal, Ghulam Hussain, who wrote Siyar-ul-Mudkhirin. Yesterday we have talked about. Siyar-ul-Mudkhirin. He presented day by day discussion that resulted in Battle of Plassey. This is a poetic compilation. So day by day discussion that resulted in Battle of Plassey, but did not mention anything related to black hole tragedy. Did not mention anything related to black hole tragedy. So we doubt the authenticity of story. Siyar-ul-Mudkhirin. So we doubt the authenticity of story. Ghulam Hussain presented day by day, but did not mention anything like black hole tragedy. So after this black hole tragedy, continuing from here, so after this black hole tragedy, the two English gentlemen, we call gentlemen because they are English, Robert Clive and Watson, they came to Bengal They were working in southern India. We will see Anglo-French conflict then. It would be easy for us. So Robert Clive and Watson both came to Bengal to see the stock of the situation, Robert Clive had already proved his caliber as a commander of the military. Basically, he was a clerk. But clerk became military commander. He was appointed as a clerk in East India Company. But in southern Indian conflict with the French, he already proved his point that he is having the skill. So Robert Clive and Watson was a Navy officer. So Watson was a Navy officer. Robert Clive was a clerk. She already proved his point. So both came to Bengal to understand the situation. Robert Clive, he wanted to remove Siraj-ud-Dowla. The Nawab of Bengal has to be removed. Then only when the interest of the company will be there. So Robert Clive, he wanted to remove the Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla so that Robert Clive will have a free hand in Bengal. So Robert Clive get in alliance with all anti-Siraj forces. All anti-Siraj forces. Get in alliance with all anti-Siraj forces. Like Shaukat Jung, like Jagat Seth. He was a banker. Jagat Seth. Omi Chand, Manik Chand, Rai Durlabh, and the biggest, Mir Jafar. So Omi Chand, he was a merchant. Manik Chand, he was in charge of Calcutta. Rai Durlabh, he was a finance minister of Siraj-ud-Dowla. And Mir Jafar, he was Mir Bakshi. So maybe the font is small, but I think you can note it. So Shaukat Jung, you know Shaukat Jung, he was the cousin brother of Siraj-ud-Dowla. Jagat Seth, he was a banker. Omi Chand, the merchant. Manik Chand, in charge of Calcutta. Rai Durlabh, the finance minister. And Mir Jafar, he was Mir Bakshi. So Mir Bakshi means he was a paymaster general. Mir Bakshi. Paymaster general. Mir Bakshi. That is, paymaster general means he maintained the military, salary, pension, training, promotion, appointments are all taken by Mir Jafar, Mir Bakshi. The commander of the army is always Sultan or the Nawab or the king. But those who maintain the military, Mir Bakshi. So Mir Jafar. So Mir Jafar had a great command over the military because he recruited the military, maintained the military. So great command over the military. So these are the anti-Siraj forces. So Siraj-ud-Dowla was there in Murshidabad, and these activities all going on in Calcutta. So Sirajuddaula was initially unaware about everything, but when he got the situation that the situation is very much against him, so Sirajuddaula decided to take the chance. He came to Calcutta from Murshidabad. But when Sirajuddaula came to Calcutta, he signed Treaty of Alinagar, 9th February 1757. 9th February 1757, Treaty of Alinagar was signed. February 1757. Under this treaty, Siraj-ud-Dowla agreed to fulfill all the demands of the English, and in return Siraj-ud-Dowla had taken the chance to settle the score with the English. He wanted to undermine the situation, he wanted to undermine the play. So Siraj agreed to fulfill all demands. Okay, so including fortification also. So, and with this Treaty of Alinagar, East India Company also got right to mint the coin. So Siraj-ud-Dowla agreed to all demands, fortification, and East India Company also right to mint the coins. So right to mint the coins is a sovereign right of the Nawab, and that sovereign rights was also handed over. So sovereign right was also handed over to Siraj-ud-Dowla. Company. Siraj-ud-Dowla had handed over this to company. So right to mint the coin, that is the sovereign right of a Nawab, was also handed over to Siraj-ud-Dowla. A right to mint the coin. So sovereign right. Then secondly, Robert Clive, despite the Treaty of Alinagar, despite the Treaty of Alinagar, Treaty of Alinagar, despite the Treaty of Alinagar, did not ready to reconcile with Siraj-ud-Daulah. So therefore, despite the Treaty of Alinagar was not ready to reconcile with Siraj-ud-Daulah, therefore 23rd June 1757 there was a Battle of Plassey. There was Battle of Plassey. 23rd June 1757 there was Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey. And it was Nawab versus the East India Company. And East India Company defeated Nawab. Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah was killed in this battle. Siraj-ud-Daulah was killed by Miran, son of Mir Jafar. Miran was son of Mir Jafar. Miran was son of Mir Jafar. So Nawab Siraj-ud-Daulah lost his life in this battle. East India Company defeated Nawab. East India Company means the company led by Robert Clive. Robert Clive. It was not a real battle. It was not a real battle, but a conspiracy by the supporters of Nawab, conspiracy by the supporters of Nawab, and in this battle, Mir Madan and Mohanlal died. Mir Madan and Mohanlal died. So Mir Madan and Mohanlal, two people had died in this battle. The victory of East India Company transformed company into political power. Transformed company into political power. Victory of East India Company transformed company into political power, and it was beginning of colonialism in India as well. It was beginning of colonialism in India. So colonial power had started. It was beginning of colonialism in India. Colonialism, I had already give you some definition that when a political power was used to exploit the territory and to benefit the mother country, this is called colonialism. This is called colonialism. So political power was used to defined the colonialism to exploit the territory and to benefit the mother country. This is called colonialism. East India Company. So 1757 Battle of Plassey, it had transformed a trading organization into political power, and this political power was utilized by company to utilize exploitation of Bengal and to benefit the mother country. To benefit the mother country. So this is how the political power was utilized by East India Company. Son of Mir Jafar. Miran killed Siraj-ud-Dawla. So after Battle of Plassey, new Nawab came, and this is Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar. 1757 to 1760. This is a period of Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar agreed to fulfill all demands of the English. Agreed to fulfill all demands of the English. Mir Jafar agreed to fulfill all demands of the English. Including right to free trade. Right to free trade. Right to free trade. All demands of the English, including right to free trade. Mir Jafar gave 24 Pargana. You know 24 Pargana is in Bengal. So 24 Pargana is one district at that time. So 24 Pargana as a personal gift to Robert Clive. Now Robert Clive became Jamindar of 24 Pargana. He became Zamindar of 24 Pargana. It is Zamindar of 24 Pargana. So this is something which is a beginning of drain of wealth. So drain of wealth from India had started. Drain of wealth from India had started. So Mir Jafar anytime ready to please the English. Means that you understand that English opened the mouth and he was putting the biscuit. Open the mouth, putting the biscuit. So finally putting the biscuit and there was no biscuit left. So Mir Jafar had totally depleted the treasury of Bengal. He totally depleted the treasury of Bengal. Totally depleted the treasury of Bengal. Mir Jafar. Nothing left. So Mir Jafar totally depleted the treasury of Bengal, totally vacated the treasury of Bengal, nothing left. So Mir Jafar, he expressed his inability to fulfill the demands of English. So expressed his inability to fulfill the demands of English. He expressed his inability to fulfill the demands of the English. Therefore, Mir Jafar was replaced by new Nawab, that is Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim. Soft dismissal. Mir Qasim was removed, and then Mir Qasim, he became the new Nawab of Bengal. Always put the point which is of use. We will not put any unnecessary facts. So Mir Qasim was replaced by Mir Jafar was replaced by Mir Qasim. He is the new Nawab. He expressed his inability to fulfill the demands of the English because the total treasury of Bengal got vacated. So Mir Jafar became Nawab. Mir Qasim was a very competent personality. Very competent personality. In fact, he followed the dual policy. He followed the dual policy. Dual policy. On one hand, he pleased the English. So, dual policy, that on one hand he tried to please the English. He wanted to make English very happy. So, one hand he tried to please the English, and on the other hand he strengthened his position. He strengthened his position. This is called dual policy. So, on one hand he pleased the English, and on the other hand he strengthened his position. He strengthened his position. So, in order to please the English, he gave Jamindari of 3 districts to East India Company. Jamindari of 3 districts to East India Company. Bardhaman, Midnapur, and Chittagong. Chittagong. So Bardhaman, Midnapur, and Chittagong. These 3 districts was given to East India Company. So East India Company now got the Jamindari of here. This is a big state, a very prosperous state. Prosperous district. So therefore Bardhaman, Midnapur, and Chittagong, these 3 districts was given to East India Company. Agreed to fulfill all the demands. Agreed to fulfill all the demands. Agreed to fulfill all the demands, including the fortification. In order to strengthen his position, he shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Murshidabad to Munger. he shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Munger is in Bihar. So shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Munger. So maybe away from the age of the English, he wanted to pursue some of his ambitions. So Murshidabad to Munger. He established a gun factory at Munger. Gun factory at Munger. He tried to modernize army with the help of Dutch. So he tried to modernize the army with the help of Dutch. With the help of Dutch. So obviously, I hope you remember that there was a battle of Bedara with the Dutch. 1760 Battle of Bedara. Yeah, I hope you remember. English versus Dutch. You can look in the Dutch note. So he tried to modernize his military with the help of Dutch. Those Englishmen who defeated Dutch in the Battle of Bedara those Englishmen who defeated Dutch in the Battle of Bedara, they were not happy with Siraj-ud-Dawla. They are not happy with the Mir Qasim. They were not happy with the Mir Qasim. So they got provoked. They got provoked. So provocation came because the Mir Qasim modernized his military with the help of Dutch. So they were not happy with the Mir Qasim because he was trying to get in alliance with the enemies. He was trying to get in alliance with the enemies. Mir Qasim, he created alliance with Shah Alam II, he was a Mughal ruler. Shuja-ud-Dawla, he was Nawab of Awadh. And of course, Mir Qasim. Nawab of Bengal. So these three arrangement was made to create the Triple Alliance. Salam II, Shuja-ud-Dawla, Nawab of Awadh, and Mir Qasim, Nawab of Bengal. So out of these two, Shah Alam II, because of the fear of his Wazir, he was staying in Allahabad, not in Delhi. Technically, he should have stayed in Delhi, but he was staying in Allahabad because of the fear of his Wazir. So you can understand that how powerful ruler he was. So Shah Alam II, because of the fear of his Wazir, he was staying in Allahabad. Means in the territory of Awadh. So you can understand the power. So among all three, only good you can say about that is Mir Qasim. And this Triple Alliance had a war with East India Company. And East India Company was led by Hector Munro. East India Company was led by Hector Munro. East India Company was led by Hector Munro. So unlike Plassey, it was a real battle between the Indian power and the Western power. You can write here that unlike Plassey, it was a real battle between Indian power and the Western power. And superiority of Western power was proved. Superiority of Western power was proved. Unlike Plassey, it was a real battle between Indian power and the Western power, and the superiority of Western power was proved. Superiority of Western power was proved. Superiority of Western power was proved. So this is the biggest victory that English would have expected. Because of this Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, the English was on the forefront in Bengal. English was on the forefront in Bengal. So this is the biggest victory that English had ever expected, because all the powers of the northern India was lost to East India Company. So the sequence of the event you must maintain, then we'll go for the French as well. So biggest victory. After Battle of Buxar, Robert Clive was sent back a second time. Robert Clive, he came to India for the second time as Governor of Bengal. Perhaps Company was looking a great caliber in him. So Governor of Bengal, actually Company was thinking that only person who can good for us at this critical time. So Governor of Bengal, Robert Clive. And he concluded Treaty of Allahabad. Robert Clive had concluded Treaty of Allahabad. With Shuja-ud-Dawla. Nawab of Awadh. Shuja-ud-Dawla, 1765. Sujaudollah. War indemnity was imposed. War indemnity was imposed. Means there was a demand of money from Sujaudollah. But moreover, the important fact is two districts of Nawab, two districts of Awadh, Allahabad and Kara, was taken away from Nawab. So company grabbed the two districts, that is Allahabad and Kara, was taken away from Nawab. Allahabad and Kara was taken away from Nawab. So Nawab was pressurized with penalty. Second treaty was also known as Treaty with Allahabad, and this treaty was with Shah Alam II. I told you that Shah Alam II was also staying in Allahabad. So this Treaty of Allahabad also done with Shah Alam II. Also done with Shah Alam II. So in this treaty with Shah Alam II, Shah Alam II, English got a right to collect the land revenue, right to collect the land revenue from Bengal which is called Diwani right. Diwani right. So English got right to collect the land revenue from Bengal which is called Diwani right. From Bengal which is called Diwani right. So this is the biggest right because land revenue was the most consistent source of income. So this is Diwani right. And Shah Alam II became pensioner. He became pensioner of East India Company. 26 lakh annual pension was fixed. So Shah Alam II became pensioner of East India Company and the 26 lakh annual income pension was fixed. 26 lakh annual pension was fixed. So this is also known as Treaty of Allahabad. So first with the Sujaudollah and second with the Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II. So Robert Clive proved again a masterly policies, the master activities of Robert Clive. He had created the scene for the establishment of permanent British Empire in India. So right to collect the land revenue, Diwani right, that the English will collect the land revenue of entire Bengal. Fine. Okay. So Mir Qasim, he played the dual policy, and one student is asking that what is Battle of Bidara. So Battle of Bidara, I think you can see your notes of Dutch. The Dutch was finally defeated by English in the Battle of Bidara, 1759. This is near Hooghly. This is near Hooghly. Battle of Bidara is near Hooghly. It was English versus Dutch. And then English defeated Dutch. And that was a final show of the Dutch in India. So obviously those English who defeated Dutch, they were not happy that Mir Qasim is getting in alliance with the Dutch. And then Mir Qasim successfully created this alliance, resulted in Battle of Buxar. 22nd October 1764. It was this alliance versus East India Company. Battle of Buxar. 22nd October 1764. This is alliance between, this was a war between alliance and the East India Company. East India Company was led by Hector Munro. So Battle of Buxar was a real battle between the Indian power and the European power. So Robert Clive came after the Battle of Buxar, and then he concluded this treaty. I think its treaty is okay to you people. I hope you understood that this was a big treaty altogether, because English got the right to collect the land revenue, which was a Diwani right, which is a very big right. So this is a Diwani right of the English. So after the battle, you will realize that the Battle of Plassey gave rich trade of Bengal, and Battle of Buxar, it gave rich land revenue of Bengal. So English company was a Malamal company. There is nothing to challenge now. So the Battle of Plassey trade, and Battle of Buxar. Buxar is in Bihar. It is land revenue. So English was a very, very powerful company. So normally you expect one question in mains from here. Look at the question and note down this question to write. The question is, in second half of 18th century, Bengal was a plundered state. As well as sponsoring state. Bengal was a plundered state as well as a sponsoring state. So Bengal was a plundered state as well as a sponsoring state. Explain the sentence. (150 words you can try to write. So understand the question. Half part is plundered and second part is the sponsorship. So when you talk about the plunder, how you start writing, the first paragraph you'll write about the consequence of the Battle of Plassey and consequence of the Battle of Buxar. This arrangement you will make half. So consequence of the Battle of Plassey and consequence of the Battle of Buxar. Half. So consequence of the Battle of Plassey. This is first paragraph. Second paragraph, you'll write that there is expansionist policies. There is expansionist policies. So expansionist policies of company, that company having war with Maratha, we will see Maratha. Company had war with Mysore. So from where the cost of the war is coming? Cost of war. So cost of war was too much. Third, that plunder of Bengal created background for the Industrial Revolution of England. Industrial Revolution of England. Because transfer of capital from here. So it created the background for the Industrial Revolution of England. The raw material, capital, all transferred. So this is called sponsorship and this is a plunder. So 3 paragraphs, 50-50 words each, or the 80 words, 80 words here and then rest 70 words here you can write. So try writing at home. It's a very easy target. In the second half of 18th century, Bengal was a plundered state as well as sponsoring state. So Bengal was a plundered state as well as sponsoring state. So sponsorship you can look at all the points very easily. It was a sponsoring state. Plunder. So in the second half of 18th century, means after 1750, Bengal was a plundered state as well as sponsoring state. So I hope you can write this question. So this is how the Bengal became the part of the British control, became part of the British control policy. So Robert Clive, he will try to arrange everything. So Robert Clive had introduced dual government in Bengal. Dual government in Bengal. So you can give the heading that is called the dual government in Bengal. So dual government in Bengal. Robert Clive, he made first administrative experiment in India. He made first administrative experiment in India, and that is called dual government. First administrative experiment in India called dual government. In dual government, administration of Bengal was divided in two parts. Administration of Bengal was divided in two parts. Diwani and Nizamat. Diwani and Nizamat. Diwani was revenue administration. Revenue administration. And Nizamat was general administration, general judicial all, so general administration. Diwani and Nizamat, general administration. Revenue administration was taken by East India Company, and general administration was handed over to the Nawab. Nawab was handed to Nawab. So company had control over the finance without any responsibility. Company had control over the finance without any responsibility. So Nizamat was in the hands of Nawab. So company had all the control over the finance without any responsibility. After some times, the post of Deputy Nawab was created. Post of Deputy Nawab was created. Post of Deputy Nawab was created. So Deputy Nawab was check on Nawab. Deputy Nawab will be appointed by East India Company. So now the Deputy Nawab will check on Nawab. So indirect control over the administration and direct control over finance. This is called dual government. So Nawab had created the atmosphere, indirect control and the direct control. So post of Deputy Nawab was created and Deputy Nawab was check on Nawab. So Deputy Nawab was appointed by company. So indirect control over the administration by the means of Deputy Nawab and then direct control over finance. Direct control over finance. So this is called dual government. So dual government, it lasted for 8 years. Clive had set everything and then returned back to London after introducing all the things. So he returned back to London, and then you can look at the dual government. Dual government did plunderous situation. Lots of plunder was made. The administration of Bengal, lots of plunder was made. So the Britishers said that our system acts like a sponge, soaking good things on the bank of Ganges and squeezing at the river Thames. Means just take the things from the Ganga river and squeeze it near the river Thames. Squeeze it near the river Thames. Our system acts like a sponge, soaking good things on the bank of Ganges and squeezing at the river Thames. This is the statement which classified that how British was trying to plunder India's wealth by all the ways. So 1765 to 1773. This is dual government. 1773. Look, try to understand this scenario. Company was basically a trading organization. The British Parliament had given permission to the company for trade and commerce only. But now company had turned into political power. So obviously, the approach of the British government towards the company will also change. It's very simple. So in British Parliament, look at this story and the background, you will get a glimpse that in British Parliament, the discussion started. The discussion was, why not British Crown should take over Bengal? Bengal will become part of the British India. I am talking about immediately after Battle of Plassey and Buxar. The discussion started in the British Parliament that British government should take over Bengal. But there were many in the Parliament of England, those were getting regular chocolate toffee from the company. So they always try to protect the interest of the company. So therefore, they tried to save the company. But British government demanded plunder, share in the plunder. So company So British government demanded plunder, share in plunder. So company agreed to pay the government also. So British government became directly the partner of the plunder of Bengal. Subsequently, you will find that company was under huge debt. The servants of company was rich, but company was under huge debt. And because of this debt, company approached government for the loan. So company asked government that, would you provide me loan to sort out these financial difficulties? Then government said, yes, we will provide the loan, but we will interfere in the administrative affairs of the company. So once loan was sanctioned, it was around 1.4 million. So once loan was sanctioned, then British government became part of the administrative system of the company. British government had condition that we will interfere in the administrative affairs of the company. So, British government became part of the administrative affairs of the company. So, 1773 Regulating Act was passed. So, you can understand the reason behind the passing of Regulating Act. Look at the reason. Reason behind the passing of Regulating Act, very simple, the administrative chaos in Bengal. Administrative chaos in Bengal. Second, British company had, East India Company demanded loan from the government. So, 1.4 million pound was sanctioned. 1.4 million pound was sanctioned with 4% interest. With 4% interest. With the condition that British government will interfere in the affairs of company. With the condition that British government will interfere in the affairs of company. 1.4 million pound was sanctioned. So, that led to the passing of Regulating Act of 1773. Regulating Act means regulating the activities of East India Company, regulating the affairs of East India Company. So, Regulating Act of 1773, first point. Governor of Bengal became, you can write the first point, the Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal. Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal. So, you know, here there is a governor at Bombay, governor at Madras, and here we have Bengal. So, now this governor became Governor General. He is a boss in India now. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of Bengal. Warren Hastings is the first Governor General of Bengal. He is the first Governor General of Bengal. Governor of Bengal became Governor General. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General. Now this Governor General would exercise power in war, peace treaty, and land revenue. War, peace treaty, and land revenue. War, peace treaty, and land revenue. Is these governors will change land revenue system? Approval from this Governor General is required. If it will declare war against Indian state, approval required. Concluded peace treaty. So these three things, if the other two governors conclude any peace treaty with Indian state, declare war against Indian state, or the change in the land revenue, then approval from the Governor General is required. So only thing, these governors were free to make law. Free to make law. So Governor of Bombay is free to make law in Bombay. Governor of Madras is free to make law in Madras. But in regard to these three, it was mandatory for them to take the permission from the Governor General. It was mandatory for them to take the permission from Governor General. So Governor of Bengal became Governor General of Bengal. Warren Hastings is first Governor General. So Warren Hastings will exercise the power on war, peace treaty, and land revenue. A Council of Governor General was created. Council of Governor General was created with 4 members. A Council of Governor General was created with 4 members. With 4 members. Okay, free to make law, and this Council of Governor General was created with 4 members. And all these 4 members will be appointed by British Parliament. All these 4 members were appointed by British Parliament. So now the British Parliament are directly involved in the administration of the company. Directly involved in administration of the company. Council of Governor General was created. Governor of Bengal is a Governor General of Bengal. Next, there was complete ban on taking gift and bribes. Ban on taking gift and bribes. Gift and bribes by East India Company. Gift and bribe, there is no difference. Higher transaction is called gift and lower transaction is called bribe. There is no difference. So the officials of the company, they keep on taking the gift and bribes. Higher transaction is called gift and lower transaction is called bribe. Ministers take gift. A Supreme Court was created in Calcutta. Supreme Court was created in Calcutta. Supreme Court was created in Calcutta. Elijah Impey was the first Chief Justice. The first Chief Justice of Calcutta Supreme Court. Jurisdiction of the Supreme Court was all British and the Indian subject within the company's territory. Within the company's territory. All British and the Indian subject within the company's territory. This is the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Court of Director will monitor all the appointments in India. Court of Director will monitor all the appointments in India. So, Court of Director will monitor all the appointments in India. So, all the appointments in India will be monitored by this Court of Director. So, this is the Regulating Act of 1773. This is the Regulating Act of 1773. So, we have concluded with the English empowerment in India and then capture of Bengal. So, now we will talk about some of the leftover things which we should have done, but this is some arrangement. At least you understood that English became very powerful by the 1765, that is the Treaty of Allahabad and Grant of Diwani. So, other powers, the French also came and French also left. So, in between there was entry of the French and the Danish as well. So, Danish first. Danish East India Company it was established, it came to India in 1616. Danish East India Company. This is also known as the Sweden and the Danish both combined together. Danish means Denmark. So, company established factory at Tranquebar, first factory, Serampur. So, Tranquebar, Serampore, these two, the very important center of the company. And then Calicut, even the Nicobar was so these are the 4 settlements of the Danish East India Company: Tranquebar, Serampore, Calicut, Nicobar. This is called Danish and the Swedish East India Company. They were involved in conversion to Christianity. They were involved in conversion to Christianity. So there was no such focus on trade. No such focus on trade. So very soon they lost all the settlements, and in 1845 they sold all the settlements to East India Company. They sold all the settlements to English East India Company. Danish East India Company. Then French East India Company. French East India Company. French East India Company was constituted during the time of Louis XIV by the finance minister Colbert. By Colbert. Louis XIV was a king. Louis XIV was a king. So it was established. It was a government organization. Government organization. It was created and financed, controlled by the state. It was created, financed and controlled by the state. In 1668, Francis Caron established first factory at Surat. First factory at Surat. Francis Caron had established first factory at Surat. (1668). Company established second factory so first is at Surat, second factory at Masulipatam, 1669 at Masulipatam. Masulipatam. So the company was ready to operate in India on the lines of the English. The lines of the English. Company established factory at many places, but very soon came in conflict with English, and that was the beginning of the Anglo-French conflict, which is called Carnatic War. Anglo-French conflict. Since Karnataka was the main party, the region of the war is interference in the Karnataka, so Anglo-French conflict. Anglo-French conflict or the Carnatic War. So Anglo-French conflict will take more time. It's a long working hour for the England and France. They were arch rival. They were arch rival. And they were a strong competitor of the war. A strong competitor of the war. So Karnataka War. This is called Anglo-French rivalry or the Karnataka War. So Anglo-French rivalry was mainly due to two wars. That is Austrian War of Succession Austrian War of Succession, that is 1740 to 1748, and second is the 7 Years' War. So both the wars had created the conflict zone for England and France, and the extension of that war could be realized in India as well. Extension of that war could be realized in India as well. So Austrian War of Succession, the two parties, they started fighting in Austria to become a king, and England and France had taken one of them. So therefore the Austrian War of Succession turned into Anglo-French conflict. And England, this conflict had dragged in India as well. This conflict was dragged in India as well. And second, again the Anglo-French conflict, which lasted for 7 years in Europe, and this war had spreaded in many parts of the world. Wherever England and France was there, they started fighting. So Anglo-French rivalry, the theme, Karnataka War. Karnataka War. So Austrian War of Succession and then 7 Years' War. So first Anglo-French War or the first Karnataka War. Or Karnataka War. First Anglo-French conflict or the Karnataka War. It was Madras versus Pondicherry. Madras versus Pondicherry. So Madras was under the control of English and Pondicherry was in the control of France. So governor of France Dupleix. He was person of very extraordinary skill, a very dominant. So because of the Anglo-French conflict in Europe, this war was dragged to India also. This war was dragged to India also. So Dupleix captured Madras. Take a very easy note that because of the Anglo-French rivalry in Europe, it dragged to India also, and Dupleix captured Madras. Captured Madras. But Madras was under the territorial sovereignty of ruler of Karnataka. Territorial sovereignty of ruler of Karnataka. Territorial sovereignty of ruler of Karnataka. So therefore, war started between the Nawab of Karnataka and the Dupleix. Battle of Saint-Thome. Between Nawab of Karnataka and Dupleix. Nawab of Karnataka and Dupleix. Saint-Thome. Nawab of Karnataka and Dupleix. So Dupleix defeated the Nawab of Karnataka. Defeated the Nawab of Karnataka. This is Battle of Saint-Thome, 1746. Dupleix defeated Nawab of Karnataka and control over Madras maintained. So Madras was under the control of France. And you understand the Madras was a very powerful location. Control of France. It was a very powerful location. Madras was under the control of France. control of France. Battle of Saint-Thome. But in America, the war dragged to America also, the Anglo-French rivalry America also. So in America, the English was in control of Fort Louisburg. This Fort Louisburg was in America. It was a French fort, but it was taken control by It was a French fort, but it was taken control by English. So here in India, France defeated English, and in America, English defeated France. So it was almost 50-50. So finally, Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle was signed. Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle was signed. Louisburg was returned to France, and Madras was returned to English. So mutual restitution. Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle was signed. And then it was returned to France. Madras was also returned to English. So the first Anglo-Carnatic War, the main fact is that the Madras versus Pondicherry. Madras was the English headquarter in the east. Pondicherry was the French headquarter. It was extension of the Anglo-French conflict in Europe. That war had extended to many parts. So Dupleix, the governor of France, captured Madras. Madras was actually the territorial sovereignty of Karnataka. So Dupleix captured Madras, and that resulted in the war between Nawab of Karnataka and the Dupleix. Battle of Saint-Thome. In this battle, Dupleix defeated the Nawab of Karnataka, and Madras was under the control of France. But in America, the Anglo-French conflict was also there. Here, English defeated France, and Fort Louisburg of France was taken. Fort Louisburg of France was taken. And finally, Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle was signed. Louisburg was to return to the France, and Madras was to be returned to the English. So this is the first Karnataka War. So outcome was the French superiority was established. Naval power was brought in this war. Naval power was brought in this war. So because the France used navy, so therefore victory of France. Now the English will also introduce the navy, and English navy is a superior navy. So this is the background that how France will be out of the system. And Dupleix, he proved his extraordinary skill. Dupleix, he proved his extraordinary skill. Dupleix, he proved his extraordinary skill. So this is a first Anglo-French War. Second Anglo-French War, that is also known as Second Karnataka War. This war started mainly because of the reason that in Karnataka and Hyderabad, the two parties, Chanda Sahib and Anwaruddin, started war of succession. Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung, they started fighting to become Nawab. So Hyderabad and Karnataka. Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Jung was supported by French, and Anwaruddin and Nasir Jung was supported by English. So therefore at both the places the war had started. But surprisingly, the French again emerged victorious. Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Jung. French emerged victorious. Anwaruddin died in this battle, but his son Muhammad Ali fled to Trichy. Nasir Jung also lost the life. So in Second Anglo-French War also there was a victory of French. Okay, we will continue with, after a break, we will continue with this war and the conclusion of the Anglo-French and the final defeat of the France. But till now it's looking France is at the victory point. Okay, take a break.